Christian Bale, Empath, Narcissist, or something else? Part 8, The Conclusion. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. We have considered various aspects of the life of Christian Bale, a hugely talented and successful actor. He is well known for his convincing and intense portrayals of a variety of different characters in the different roles that he has had. But what is he? In terms of his familial relations, it's clear that he had a childhood that was marked by uprooting and divorce, which could well point to a lack of control environment. He has also had something of a problematic relationship with his mother. Is that born out of the fact that she could be a problematic individual herself, suggesting could she be a narcissist and has passed the genetic predisposition onto him? Is it the case that Bale and his mother clash because they both have an innate need for control? Or is it simply the case that she is the difficult one and Bale has been protective in relation to his family, denoting emotional empathy? With regard to his intimate relationships, they have been few in number, and certainly not at the level that one would ordinarily see, both in terms of number and turnover, for a narcissist. But then again, he might be a more evolved one, whereby he creates an image of stability. He has had a long-lasting marriage with no reported problems. Indeed, there have been no reported problems in any of his previous relationships, although they were much shorter when compared to his continuing marriage. He's an actor, which means there has to be an element of showmanship, a narcissistic trait, and a strong one at that. Professionally, he has been described as aloof and somewhat haughty. But might that just be as a consequence of him being a private individual? Being private doesn't make you a narcissist. He has a reputation for being intense, but that is quite possibly simply a case of professionalism, that he inhabits the roles and therefore he wants to ensure that he gives his best each time that he performs. Or is this linked to an innate need for control? We heard about the Terminator Salvation bust-up, but beyond that, there haven't been any major issues with regard to an individual who is seen as habitually difficult to work with. He's received many awards demonstrating that he's clearly a capable actor, and therefore he's not somebody that exaggerates his success or operates in a deluded way with regard to his abilities. His depth of acting ability is most fascinating. Is this the mimicry of a narcissist who has this innate ability to take the traits of other people and pass them off as his own par excellence as a consequence of being a particularly evolved narcissist? Or is his ability to act in the way that he does representative of a deep understanding of the human condition brought about by the fact that he exhibits emotional empathy? With regard to his family, he's fiercely protective. Is this a manifestation of the need for control or an appearance of emotional empathy? There's certainly no issues in relation to his wife or his children. He's a very private man. There's no grandiosity exhibited by him. He's not known for being flashy, notwithstanding his considerable wealth. He also separates his professional and private life, recognizing the boundary between the two. We've also heard of his considerable philanthropy, often done in a quiet, unassuming fashion, rather than what might be regarded as performative. A variety of considerations in relation to Christian Bale, and there's no doubting that he is a complex individual. Might we be looking at an individual who is a narcissist? Well, it appears that he exhibits emotional empathy by virtue of what people have said with regard to what it is like to work with him, but moreover in relation to his family. The privacy that he requires and the fact that he has always been protective of his wife and his children to my mind, elicits emotional empathy. The fact that he was prepared to fall out with his mother as a consequence of her behaviour towards his wife demonstrates a fierce loyalty to his wife, which I don't see as born out of the need for control, but is actually born out of the necessity of his emotional empathy, quite simply the love that he has for his wife. Whilst he is an actor, there is an absence of grandiosity in relation to Bale. He's not a show-off. Yes, he's a performer, but that goes with what he does professionally. Privately, you hardly ever hear from him. He's not known for spilling out of bars. He's not known for racing in fast cars. He's not known for having a string of relationships. Indeed, it is the stability of his intimate relationship with his wife which is a significant indicator as to what he may be and what he is not be. I do not see that there is a pathological need for control in relation to the behaviour of Bale. He exhibits the presence of emotional empathy. He shows accountability for his behaviours. For instance, whilst he will have regarded his bust-up in relation to the Terminator Salvation matter as justified, he then went and apologised, and there's no repetition of the behaviour. He shows accountability for his actions. There's an absence of grandiosity. He does have a degree of dismissiveness about him, but that, to my mind, comes from his professionalism in his job rather than it being part of his character. He is not seen as manipulative. He recognises boundaries, and one does not see aspects of the narcissistic dynamic in relation to his behaviour. Accordingly, when it comes to a determination as to whether he is a narcissist, there are a variety of factors that simply are not there. Might he be narcissistic, meaning that he has low emotional empathy, that he is intrinsically selfish, that he can be manipulative, and indeed knows that he is? Again, the philanthropy that he engages in and the privacy and care that he shows for his family denotes something more than a low level of emotional empathy. He's not regarded as being a selfish individual or self-absorbed. Intense, yes, but there's a difference between the intensity that comes out of his performances and generally being a self-absorbed individual. You only have to watch and listen to him being interviewed to see that he isn't a self-absorbed man. Accordingly, he doesn't fit with narcissistic. This leaves us with empathic and normal. Both possess emotional empathy. Both are not intrinsically controlling. Both have narcissistic and empathic traits, which we see in Bale. Certainly, there's no doubt that he would qualify as a normal with regard to his care for his family. He shows considerable emotional empathy for them. But it's also the case that he exhibits emotional empathy for those outside of his circle of empathy, not only as a consequence of the philanthropy that we've heard about, but also with regard to his treatment of colleagues and also those that have worked with him. The fact is, with regard to his philanthropy, he has made considerable investment, both financially and time-wise, in relation to his Together California project. This isn't some flash in the pan. It's something that he's been involved in for a considerable number of years. It's also the case that it's clear that his father has influenced him with regard to his philanthropic efforts in relation to wildlife also. It's not something that Bale shows off in relation to, and it demonstrates a concern for both humans and animals, which supports the presence of emotional empathy. He is not somebody that is known for being manipulative. He is not somebody who is known for lashing out at individuals. Yes, there are two main instances of where his temper has shown. That was in relation to his mother and in relation to the individual on the set of Terminator Salvation. But in both instances, this was not where he went on the offensive, but was a reaction to the behaviour of others, where he was protecting his wife, and we know about his intensity in his workplace, which is what generated the response towards the crew member on the set of Terminator Salvation. This was not an exhibition of heated fury, but rather anger, which is a separate and different emotion to that of pure fury. It is also the case that in order to undertake the portrayals that Christian Bale engages in, that he has to have considerable understanding of human beings, an intuitive way of knowing them. It is certainly the case that certain individuals who are narcissists can, particularly amongst the most evolved, perform in a similar way, albeit from a different driver. But it is quite clear that, with all of the other factors looked at in the round, that Christian Bale's ability to get into a role, under the skin of the character, to understand them, is demonstrative of the presence of considerable emotional empathy and empathic traits. For example, he picked up on very readily that in relation to his portrayal of Patrick Bateman in American Psycho, he modelled much of the character on Tom Cruise, because he was able to identify that when Cruise smiled, there was nothing going on in his eyes. And he also identified a forced jolliness, an overly intense response of Cruise, as if he was trying to guess at how he should behave, where he is over exuberant in his responses. Again, an evolved narcissist may well be able to pick those things up. However, the fact is that Bale's ability to identify those factors in the first place is key. And when we look at that alongside the other things that he does, one can only conclude that his ability to read people isn't born out of the necessity of control or a predatory instinct, but comes from a place of emotional empathy. His philanthropy, his care for his family, his treatment of staff, the lack of major scandals throughout his life, the lack of tempestuous repeated problems, stable marriage, stable prior relationships, a private individual. All of these factors contribute to demonstrate that he is not a narcissist, and the outcome for Christian Bale is he is an empath. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.